series of the day, and it is going to be the WRL versus the WCK. It is China versus Korea with J Team and a T1. I gotta ask you guys really quickly because we have a dire consequence at the end of all this. Which way do you think this is gonna go? Stuart, we'll start with you.
I'm going to go 2-1 J Team. I think China are going to get all 4 teams into group stage. They don't even need any second chances or anything like that. I think J Team, the way they played against Vivo Key, they controlled the map. T1 were a little bit passive against Rick, so I think that J Team could just dominate the map and take the series.
That's taking the words out of my mouth. That's exactly what I think as well. T1 is a great team, but I just think J Team is going to dominate it throughout the early game because T1 was so incredibly slow. Exactly what Stuart just said. That's exactly what I think as well.
Yeah. I like that you guys went straight into it. I was going to say T1, I'm not too confident in them, but you guys were just like, oh no, T1 was playing sloppily. But yes, we are, all 3 of us over here on this desk are for J Team. I'm curious, do the casters think the same? TJ, Omo?
Rafa and Riku.
Respect it. I mean, TJ and Omo had just a banger series of a cast, but it's your boy Rafa and it's your homegirl Riku, R-Squared coming in for the second wind here.
Yeah, so excited to cast as well over to our another very important match, Rafa. We're having the T1 versus J Team match. We just finished our very intense RRQ versus JDG, and now
more like your intense RRQ watch party session in the green room. You gotta check out Twitter on RikuCast's timeline. You'll see her just jumping up and down. And even though RRQ did take the defeat in that series against JDG, she's still proud of the boys from the Philippines.
Of course, absolutely proud of their performance. But, you know, we're heading over to the draft. T1 over here on the blue side, J Team over at red. And so far, there has been varying prioritization when it comes to the bans. At first, we thought that Senna wouldn't see the light of day. At first, we saw Yumi wouldn't get out of the bag, I guess. So now T1 removing the Lee Sin, totally understandable. There's a lot of amazing Lee Sin players in the WRL, and one of them is Cherry.
It seems like every single jungler from the WRL has a pocket Lee Sin that you cannot absolutely disrespect. We know that in the game 1 against Vivo Key, Cher with that massive flank onto Katrina's TF, immediately catapulting and kickstarting what eventually became Pan's pentakill on the Jays.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That was massive. But going over to the bans of J Team this time around, the Ahri ban is so rare to see, especially on first rotation. Because Core is such a proficient Ahri player, even when we look back at the group stages of the WCK, it has been very pivotal on sending them over here at the Icon stage.
Yeah, while Core has a versatile champion pool, me and Stuart talked about it in their series against Rix. Ahri, 7 picks overall for Core so far in the entirety of the WCK season, making sure that cover pit is taken away. But I would not imagine that T1 are going to be in any disarray because Core has many other champions up his sleeve. But now, first pick goes to them. On day 1, we saw Lucian 4 times, but the priority has shifted. We've already seen that Lucian cannot always be piloted to success, but because the Senna is left open, that is what they secure.
I love the prioritization here from T1. Senna is such a safe lane. You can pair it with either a Nasus or a Set. Make that 2v2 incredibly aggressive. Now, when we look at the WRL, the most common denominator for the rest of the entire top side to mid side move around the map is having a wave clear champion at the bottom portion. So Corki is also one of them, Lux is one of them, Ziggs is one of them. So I wouldn't exactly pinpoint this Corki to be bot, as it still can be towards mid.
Yeah, Pan can take it for his own, run that whole breaker Black Cleaver build that we've been seeing out of so many Corki mids recently. I know Stuart over on the analyst desk has not been a fan of the whole breaker Corki because he's like, but my boy Corki can do so much more damage with the crit build. But it happens, man. You just gotta get with the times and adapt with the meta. Nasus finally see it locked alongside BDG for Penguin here. Now T1, they can lock down a priority jungle pick before they move on to the ban phase. Now this Jace, not only a takeaway from Pan, but also a flex pick for T1.
Yeah, this is super interesting. You're right. This still can be towards Jong. This still be towards Core. So the jungler still can be a little bit more compressed, or rather targeted at the the next few banning phases. I mean, I can imagine still Olaf being very important. Olaf has been one of these strong champions, especially against melee comps, or Xin Zhao as well against double AD carry composition. And as I say that, I feel like Xin Zhao could be the next thing J-Team could ban.
Now the question here is, we would imagine that the Corki would be slotted towards Barry because of the wave clear to answer back against Senna and Nasus, but what are the chances that J-Team, because they are known for accelerating the early game, what if they take the Lucian towards the bottom side of the map? Because we have seen Lucian mid not really find any success, not being used to leverage its priority in the mid lane. It gets answered back by so many other picks. I want to see if J-Team are going to actually change the pattern here.
Yeah, it makes me wonder, right? Because it will depend what the Lucian's going to be paired with, if it's indeed going to be at in the mid lane. And for now, the Ziggs now off of the table. So what is your mid lane wave clear? Because we've talked about this before, that if you do not have wave clear, that means you can't exactly respond and move proactively in the map. Early game.
Yeah, and with the Ziggs ban as well, I'm actually inclined to believe that it could be a Corki mid instead for Pan, because if you have the advantageous wave clear, you are guaranteed priority, whereas Lucian doesn't necessarily have insane wave clear, but he has insane trading potential. But Ziggs, you can always safely interact with the lane by just saying, no, I'm just going to throw out my spells, and then you can't really affect me, Lucian.
Yeah, so I guess there's that flexibility power that the Lucian and the Corki has, right? Because there's a potential that we may see a Zed again, because I can see a world where T1 is going to initiate a 1-3-1 composition, but so far with this Wukong pick, which, I'm so used to seeing the monkey being paired with someone like a Yasuo or a big wombo combo heavy composition. That's why, well, Diana's not going to fit here. I guess my biggest question would be, what is the support for J-Team?
The fact that we have waited until the very end of the draft phase for DY tells me that they might have something special planned. Answering back into T1, Renekton for Jong, Jax for JY respectively. It's a triple melee bruiser coming from the top side of T1, paired with Senna. This is a composition for T1 that thrives when all the bruisers can move forward.
Yeah, but my question would be, how are you going to engage? It's so very difficult to hold targets down. Yes, you have the easy stun coming from the Renekton. You do have that root coming from the Senna. But for me to see this as a team fighting composition, as a 5v5, it doesn't really mesh well up against J-Team, who has engage, disengage, a lot of damage output from the Lucian and the Corki. So right now, I'm favoring heavily on J-Team just because, aside from ease of execution, they have it all, Rafa.
Engage from the Wukong, as you already pointed out, and this pairing with the Braum as well. You have ways to whittle down the melee bruisers as they come into you, and you have so much zone control as well between the package, the Glacial Fissure as well coming from DY. You position those beautifully, and those melee bruisers, while in the late game, they're going to be sacking a lot of health, they're going to be even more formidable to take on in melee range. If they can't walk up to you in the first place, they can't even use their damage.
Yeah, that's exactly the biggest worry on the T1 side. How will you reach that backline? You either get a lot of vision, form a flank, and that's how you reach the Lucian, that's how you reach the Corki. But with a Braum with you, with a Wukong is going to dash into you, it's going to be a huge challenge for them.
And so my prediction here for T1 is that they are banking on, once again, they can neutralize the early game from J-Team. They are counting on the fact that J-Team were not able to close out their games cleanly against Vivo Keed yesterday. Yes, it was a 2-0 win, but it took a while to clean out what should have been a relatively dominant series for them. On the flip side, T1, they didn't have that strong of an early game, and J-Team are looking to take advantage of that as we head in to Game 1 between T1 and J-Team.
This is going to be incredibly important. BO3 series, we already saw basically JDG, Nova heading into, advancing into their groups. Now the only one left so far in our play-ins from the WRL is J-Team. If they win this, everyone from the WRL is going to be present.
And what a statement that would be from the WRL to have every single representative make it to the group stage, not only just the fact that they are there, but as the #1 seeds from each of their respective play-in groups. Remember, J-Team, this is technically the 5th seed from China, as OMG couldn't make it due to complications, but J-Team have done a fantastic job representing their region well, but J-Team, this is not a team that you want to sleep on. You saw how well they were able to punish Rix with the late game macro decision making.
And it just makes so much sense. T1 with the Jax. We see the Jax as that answer, that late game scaling, and you have the Renekton to answer, to help transition from early to mid game. So in the play style, in the context of how T1 and the WCK plays, this composition makes so much sense in an Elder Drake standpoint where JY is just gonna wreak havoc. But it's always that biggest question, how will you reach the double range? Top side though, this could be dangerous for Jong.
Zhang understanding the assignment, he wants to get away from Cherry, but Cherry on the Wukong looking to bonk himself one more time, but the ignite from Zhang is going to force Cherry away. He did not willingly want to go for the trade under the tower.
I know, it felt like, I felt like it was a cool guys don't look at explosions moment, but I guess not. The ignite tick wasn't enough.
Cherry ensuring that Dawn can get some plates stacked back. 1500 HP already down on the tower. JY is forced to respond. Make sure that the wave doesn't continue crashing into the tower, picks up some experience, but already we're seeing the J-Team experience with the early game come to fruition.
It's crazy. They've managed to get well, 1 or 2 turret plates there for Dawn and for Cherry, and I think that's really good for the early game, right? So for the WRL, even though they're losing kills, even though they're not getting kills, they get gold elsewhere, and I think that's the biggest challenge a lot of the teams have to face against the WRL teams.
Taking a moment to breathe here as T1 was able to neutralize J-Team's first strike against them. It did not net them first blood. We're about to hit the 3-minute mark, still 2 minutes away from major objective play. Right now, only components being completed.
I have a question for you, Rafa.
What's up?
How do you feel about Braum?
You mean Kangas? I mean, he's a good-looking dude. I mean, what about him?
I mean, Rafa, the champion. The champion.
Oh, the support for J-Team.
Yes.
My bad. See,
the
thing
DY
is,
there.
I look at Kangas and Braum, and they just start to blend together at this point.
Understandable.
I will say, Braum historically has paired super well with ranged marksmen, like the Corki and the Lucian, especially because you get that double tap passive, so you're able to proc concussive blows earlier, and it allows you to give yourselves ways to kite out these melee bruisers from T1 later the game goes on.
That is true. And for me, I like how, because you see the Braum and the Lucian together in one composition, even though they're not in the same, lane. Hold that thought, though. I think they're fine. No one's going to hold them down, so they're just going to walk away.
I don't think JY appreciated that from Pan there.
No, but he was trying to get the Rift Scuttler. But I want to share my feelings about Braum, Rafa. I want to share.
You're still on this Braum thing. Okay, tell me about the Braum.
I am not a big fan of the Braum, but I do remember a conversation with...
Hold up. Ref, can we pause the game? I need Riku to go up to the stage and tell DY I don't appreciate the Braum thing.
I'm not yet done, because I'm going to pivot. Because the WCS Brahms, unfortunately, don't really do much.
Oh,
but
so now this has become a WCS Braum support roasting session.
No, wait, let me finish, Rafa, let me finish.
Okay.
But this Braum doesn't seem too bad now because you have a Wukong that engages for you. Now, Braum doesn't seem too bad in this composition anymore.
So what you're saying is that you're used to Brahms being used as primary engage,
yes.
but Braum doesn't always
have...
have...
Like as a standalone.
Yeah. Secondary engage, I completely agree. And I always see Glacial Fissure as a great zoning tool or a disengage tool rather than a primary engage tool because you only get the knock up on the first person, whereas it slows everyone else behind them.
Yes, and I do agree with what you said too, because there's like, what, 4 melee champions on paper, one's half. Top side flash.
Well, Dawn did see a enemy opponent there and said, what happened to my 1v1, bro? I thought we had something. We had a mutual understanding.
Nope. Gotta be 1v1, no 1v2s here. Rift Herald, though, already has spawned, so looking at the ult bars, no Hextech ultimatum because it has been used at top!
Dawn is answering back on the Jong, but thankfully from BDG has the Dawning Shadow to keep him topped off in HP. Huge note, Barry had the package available, but wasn't able to force anyone to come through from Team 1, so they've already expended it. There's an opportunity for T1 to get into this fight. They're forcing them off the Rift Herald, 5,000 HP.
Oh
but Pan coming from the right side, the culling is going to get some chip damage down onto the members of T1. 3,000 HP on the Rift Herald. Jax jumping onto Pan, forcing him away, the dash away, the root is going to hit 2 people, but they're forced back in the choke point. J-Team, strike first for first blood back on the Penguin. They've lost one of their melee bruisers. Here comes the engage from Cherry. Cyclone, knock up on the 2. Here comes JY, but he doesn't get the chance to steal the Rift Herald because it's secured by Cherry. Can they clean up the fight though? T1 still pressing forward. JY cannot get in range. He's only taking out Cherry. A counter strike, jumping onto the back line. Barry's gone. And now BDG, can he support him up? JY going crazy, finds a double kill in the early game.
That was such a prolonged team fight from both of these teams. At the end of the day, it felt like J-Team had the better deal out of that fight, out of that team fight. They not only get the Rift Herald, but they also get Dawn ahead 2-0-1. But I want to correct myself. On the other side, JY is able to get 3 kills. Let's take a look at that again. It was very prolonged. We got a triple man knockoff coming from the side of Cherry. It worked out so well, but I feel like the problem with the positioning of J-Team is that they were scattered. And if you're scattered, that means the Braum can't exactly be a meat shield for you. But at the end of the day, they're still able to get a lot of kills, and it was even across the board.
See, the beauty of the thing about Braum Shield is that it can block every single projectile, but from one direction. However, when they're coming in from all directions and J-Team isn't all standing behind Braum, it's a little difficult to live up to the mantra.
Exactly, right, Rafa? Stand behind Braum. And now, I thought there was going to be another fight, but Rift Herald unleashed in the mid lane.
Happens to the best of us.
It does. We'll see if there's going to be another fight, though, because that is a tower almost gone. And ult bars are almost up as well. Well, I keep calling it bars. They're circles. Riku!
Shapes are hard, Riku. It's okay. That's why we talk about video games and we don't talk about shapes. 8 minutes on the game. 3-3. J-Team on this Ocean Dragon right now. Culling opened up again, once again by Pan. The engage is there from J-Team. They've already taken out Jong. A member down. JY is the first one to move forward, but his counter-strike is spent early. Doesn't matter. He takes out Wukong, but it's a jungler for jungler Jack. Dawn with the Hextech ultimatum, looking for more kills onto Penguin. Eggs him out with the double kill. Pan kiting him out. Core cannot reach the Lucian. Pan gets out alive, and J-Team win the fight.
Phenomenal target prioritization coming from J-Team. They know that JY is the problem and therefore eliminated him right away because he has 3 kills, he's the problem, he's the carry, remove him, problem solved. And on the other side of the spectrum, Dawn is now 402. He is massive. No one can stop him at the moment, especially at this point of the game with his score.
And Jong should know from experience that when a Camille gets fed out of their mind, it is so scary to deal with in those mid and late game team fights. Your hook shot is such a low cooldown, giving you so much mobility to be able to pick and choose your battles. T1 are now starting to run out of options now as we head closer and closer to the mid game, where yes, they are favored the later the game goes on, but you cannot disrespect a Camille that is this big early on.
Oh yeah, for sure. JY though, he's in trouble.
That's a big cyclone. Knock up down onto JY. He's popped the ultimate. Got extra resistance is good root from BDG. He's gonna save his jungler for now.
Yeah, really nicely done coming from T1. But going back to what you said, yes, everything when it comes to the late game favors T1, not only on the side for Jax, but also Senanasis. These are stacking champions. Dawn though with a flank. Wanting to find something.
Yo, relax. There's still a turret there, Dawn. You can't disrespect BDG and Penguin that hard. However, they are corralling them out of the jungle, making sure they are taking every single chicken nugget away from JY, making sure there are no raptors to be left.
Yeah, Dawn's positioning right now is just so good. And 9 seconds on the clock for the Rift Herald to spawn. Everybody's going to reset coming from J-Team, and so far, so good. Dawn is the biggest target right now. He has Hourglass. Once he dives in, stasis, buying some time, make sure that he's safe.
JY has found DY, who wins out on the Ys. Which Y is better? DY is the one that bites the dust first, but the package answer from Barry splits up the fight from T1. Core's on the wrong side of the tracks, tries to regroup with Jong, but he's flashing over to the backside, forces the trade kill back onto Barry, but now Jong is forced to run away. Pan is calling him down. Meanwhile, Dawn is able to trade multiple kills back. Penguin seems to be the only member alive alongside Core, but once again, J-Team keep pulling further and further for a prime
Gaming
ace!
I think it's crazy, right? Dawn was 1v3ing, 1v4ing people in the back line, so therefore T1's resources was very focused on having to keep Dawn on a tight leash, but instead it was the other way around, and this is just J-Team just so far ahead. This is what we expected, Rafa. The early game coming from J-Team. Now the biggest question is, how can they finish? How can they end this quick?
Taking a look back at their series against Vivo Kid yesterday, J-Team had similar strides against the Brazilian second representative. But J-Team, it took them about 20 to 22 minutes before they could actually efficiently close out the game. So T1, if they bank on that, if they can neutralize the advancements from J-Team and only manage to give up unnecessary structures, they have a way to hold this game out, but it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, they're doing the right things right now.
Jong, you can't escape Hextech Ultimatum. That's an easy pickup for J-Team led by Dawn. Another knockup sentences BDG to death. Rift Herald is charging into the tower. It's going to get one more charge. And T1, they have to respond. You already see JY was looking to trade turrets on the other side of the map, but he has to respond. Rift Herald does not manage to get the trade here. Stasis already on to Jong. Or Core trying to fight his way back. Has the acceleration game for the Shock Blast here. Golden goes JY, but he is gunned down before he gets a chance to stay alive. J-Team don't break the base, but they take what they wanted.
Dawn is a dangerous man right now. It only takes 4 kicks from the Camille to kill JY. Unfortunately, you know, at this point, you know, Dawn is just too strong at the moment, and what can you do? I feel like J-Team is doing all the right things to accelerate the game into their favor, to make sure that they finish cleanly, that they make sure that T1 cannot reach the late game. Though we've seen up against Rix last time where it was constant early game pressure from Rix, but they deliver at the Elder Drake fight. And it's just only 13 minutes with this amount of gold. We talked about when you're up against T1, you gotta make sure that it's beyond 5K of that threshold of a gold lead. But I feel like for J-Team, do they even need that at this point with Dawn at this far ahead?
If you're a Korean fan, you're hoping that's not the case.
Yes.
You're hoping that T1 can look back to what made them successful in their clutch series against Rix 2 days ago, and if they can pull out something similar here against J-Team. For those following the WRL, they have to be... I want to say they should have been expecting this awesome power, but still, you cannot watch this game and at least appreciate just how well J-Team has been able to play in the early game so far.
For sure. Their skirmish, their team fight, not as bombastic by tower diving pre-first spawn, but when the Rift Herald fight came, that's when they were truly, truly scary.
And look at the insane control from J-Team as well. Everyone can press forward, and Dawn is just left to solo the dragon. Not even the jungler has to worry. Cherry can be left to his own devices, continue taking and stifling resources away from JY, because that is the ultimate win condition for Jax in any game mode. If you can get multiple items, every single power spike makes you even closer to raid boss status. But if you don't get the farm, and if you get engaged on from the other side of the team, then you don't get to succeed as the Jax. JY already lost 50% of his HP, has to get out of the fight on this one. Oh, and a critical moment!
Okay. We're good. We're good. Solace. Are we playing a game of who gives in first of not moving?
I can't move, I'm paused.
Oh, that's true. I should do the thing too. I'm not moving.
We will not move in solidarity with the game. This is so hard.
It is very hard.
How do
Can
they-
we talk too? Of course we can talk.
I can't hold it any longer.
Yeah, win! I am the, what is this game called? Not moving champion
Freeze!
of this series. Wow, that was That was nutty.
We're at a point in the game where J-Team are just a couple of big fights away from being able to close out this game, whereas T1, they are hoping that they can find ways to answer back on at least trading up on kills or trading even, because they need to stay within striking distance of gold advantage or gold lead. They might be down in gold, but as long as they're not down like an egregious amount, then there's still hope. There's still a chance for them to have a fighting chance at the Elder Dragon, at the objective that matters most for them.
For sure. It is the WCK staple. We've seen it back in the Horizon Cup where completely even game state, completely even gold. It felt like rather the other team that's non-WCK, or rather RY Rollster, seemed like they cannot win the game. But when it came to Elder Drake fights, you get to see them maneuver, their spacing, their positioning, so prime and perfect for the situation that J-Team has to fear that Elder Drake potential win condition for the side of T1.
We'll be getting word soon on when we can get back into the game, but until then, stick around. At this point, J-Team, because they're the ones that are favored so far in this game, I want to talk about the implications once again of what it means for J-Team to at least be up in this series. It's still a best of 3.
Yep.
T1 are not completely down and out yet, but just being able to go through how strong of a region WRL has come in. Obviously, we had expectations that this was going to be the case.
For sure.
But to witness it live here in Singapore is something, a beauty of itself.
Oh yeah, 100% Rafa. And I think there's still a lot of big expectations for the WRL teams. I mean, we're looking at Nova, JDG at the moment, are already basically advancing through that group stage, or in the group stage rather. And it's one of those things where they seemed untouchable. But there are teams in the icons that made them bleed. You got Furious Gaming, of course. You also got RQ earlier today.
Man.
It was mind-blowing.
Honestly, low-key jealous that we weren't on those series. Just, it happens, right? But I'm
But
watching.
we were in the talent room, right?
True. We were watching it backstage. Obviously, the Game 2 Rex upset over JDG. And then I think we were back, because it was our off day, watching the Furious Gaming series against Nova Esports. And, as Peruvian, as an avid follower of the LATAM esports scene, of the WOL, as someone who has a lot of colleagues and friends over on the LATAM broadcasts, I know I wanted to hit him up in the DMs. It's like, ¿Qué pasó, hermanos? Ya ganamos! Furious Gaming, dale uno Nova Esports. Oh my goodness, that was,
I love it.
yeah, just to see that team rise up. That was so cool. It just because it changes the script on how beatable, how close the gap it actually is between WRL and the rest of the world. Because when we go back to what our prior expectations were from Horizon Cup, back when it was Dokkan Gaming and Thunder Talk Gaming, it was almost impossible for any Western team to take a single game off of them. I think only Rollster Y had taken a game off of them, and then Team Secret, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, exactly right. It felt like only perhaps SEA and the WCK region were able to make it doable when you're up against the WRL. But now it's anyone's game at this point. Feels like it's anyone's game, and that's the beautiful thing. In the play-ins, we've seen so many things from day 1, and now we're currently the day 4? It's crazy. Or am I remembering?
We're not
wrong?
quite there yet.
Day
3. Honestly, though, with how many days we've already been in Singapore, it feels like it's already been more than a week.
Truly.
I've already acclimated to the humidity here and the climate, but honestly, being able to admire kind of like the surroundings here.
Oh, for sure, the energy of
there is a vibrance here that is super magnetic about it all, and I can tell that it's affecting the players as well. Just talking to most of at least the NA teams about how it has been in Singapore has been super just uplifting for the moment. And then obviously looking at the scope of T1, who
Yep.
is another team that is hoping to do the same as both Rex and Furious Gaming.
That's
Be
true.
a team that can take a game off of a WRL representative.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure on T1, right? There's a lot of pressure for sure. Looking back at, a lot of these teams, regions that were able to take off games from, we've got third seed and even the second seed coming from the WRL, and now you're going up against the fifth seed. That is J Team here, and I feel like when we look back at the game state, I feel like they're still primed to still do that because the game's not over. The game's
Yeah.
not over. Elder Drake's still up for grabs. So I think that's going to be really important later.
I'm actually curious. I don't know if the analyst desk is anywhere near or on standby, but something that I've been, just kind of joking with you throughout the couple days here is I feel like we need to get a jersey tier list for all the
Oh.
teams here.
Yes.
I've been honestly a big fan of RQ's jersey because
Is this your top three? Is that your top one?
we can jump into the top three right now.
Okay, here
But
we go.
I also want to get the analyst desk's opinions and views on this as well. I feel like we could construct a tier list as over the course of the tournament. But for me, RQ.
This is only play-ins, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we won't account for group stages right now because we haven't seen all the group stages,
That's
the
true.
final jerseys yet. But at least for me, RQ, black and gold, that is such a that is
Classic.
a classic, beautiful color. But not only it's the color combination and the drip that they bring
Yeah.
alongside it, but it's the branded jackets
Oh,
as well.
yeah.
Like already the white and gold jersey is super fire. The black and gold jersey is super
That's
clean.
true.
But then when it's the white and gold jersey plus the black RRQ jacket, and it's got that sick design
Oh,
on the
yeah.
back. Oh
Yeah,
my
yeah.
god.
Yeah,
Like,
I think EXO was wearing that today.
He was.
Yeah.
Honestly, if the RRQ manager is still here, I need a link. I need to cop the drip, bro. Please send it my way.
Truly though, I agree with you. Their drip be drippin'. I agree. Top one, RRQ, no bias from their jerseys.
It's just jersey, guys. Remember,
Jersey.
like I know we're talking a lot about RRQ. That's literally the first one that came to mind. I think I actually really like Nova Esports' jersey
Oh.
because I
Is
like
that your second?
no order. No
order. So
for
we're
top
doing
three.
the no order.
Yeah, no order
thing.
for top three because
Gotcha.
that purple, like that's a very distinct purple.
Yes.
That's purple of royalty.
Yes, I agree. Huh? Who's my other one? I think mine would be Buriram United Esports.
Oh,
I'm not just enumerating all of the
yeah.
WCS teams, by the way. I'm not doing that. I'm doing that. I'm saying teams
Everyone
based on their
in Twitch chat
jerseys.
is like, what do you you're just picking WCS teams. What is this bias?
Yeah.
But no, honestly, the Buriram jersey is pretty sweet because
Yeah.
it's like a black jersey, but then boom, down the middle, you've got like a pastel gradient.
Exactly.
And that is what catches and draws your eye. And it also looks like a really comfortable, like not jersey style, it's more of like an open polo.
Yeah. Like, wait. Am I wrong to say it's like a baseball?
Mm,
Not really.
Maybe. I think I know what you're talking about because the baseball jersey does kind of have that like open
Vibe, but it's not like a V-neck or
yeah,
anything. It's like
yeah,
a polo.
yeah, it's like a very open face polo. I'm
Yeah.
not sure what the technical term for it is. Buriram's a good choice.
So what now? So your three best jerseys in the play-ins tournament is RQ, Nova, and Buriram. Is that your final answer?
See, that Buriram is your choice.
Oh,
And-
okay. So
and
you're just
not,
like
not to
agreeing
disrespect
with me, but it's
Buriram,
not in your
but
list. Okay.
I think for me, looking through third jerseys, I have to run through. There's a lot of teams with like a white style jersey and
Yeah.
then like the accent colors, and so for
Yes.
me, like while it looks good, it's not as original, right?
I feel like the camera's giving you ideas. Like, hey, you're talking about the white. Is the white or red one?
I mean, I like the accents and the pattern design on J Team.
Yes.
It still is in my top three, but that's a good jersey. I'm thinking about like either. I have to look through.
You got this, Rafa.
Group. Oh, you know what?
Uh-huh.
I promise. I promise I'm not biased. But honestly, the Flash Wolves have like such a sick like
Oh.
track jacket.
True.
And that, see, that's what I'm talking about when it comes to like originality is like
Yes.
if everyone just has jerseys, it's like, okay, but what are you doing to like expand beyond the mold of that, right? And you've got the track jackets there, and it's got the white, the yellow, and the blue. Mhm.
Yes.
That blue hits. That
It's
blue
it's
hits.
also like, it seems like royal blue. I could be wrong, but it screams like really good royal blue. It's so rich. And funny that my third option for best jersey in the play-ins would be Flash Wolves as well. I ain't saying everything is WCK.
Oh!
Yes.
We're back!
Woo!
Thank God!
Here we go.
We can get back to the jersey tier list later. In fact, you know what? If you guys have any suggestions at home, hit up at Wild Rift Esports on Twitter and send them your favorite jersey picks. Get the discussion going. But for
Sounds
now,
good.
it's back to the game. J-Team on the cusp of looking to close out this game. 6,000 gold ahead.
Yeah, a little bit of summary here for those of you who just joined us. John is a monster right now. 615 can 1v3
I think
everybody.
Monster's an understatement here,
That's
to
true.
be honest.
What's bigger than Monster?
Giga Monster.
What would he- We'll go with
Giga
that.
Chad!
Giga Chad.
Dawn is a Giga Chad,
Yeah,
for
let's
sure.
go with that. Let's go with that.
Yeah!
There you go. But T1 still has a lot of scaling to go with. And we're at that point, 15 minutes.
DY getting jumped on, but says, hey guys, I'm Braum. I got a big shield. You can't do jack squat against me.
Oh, I got that. Jax spot.
Oh, that...
Was that intentional?
No, but I'm flattered that you thought I was intentionally making a pun there. That was not my intention.
Whoops. Whoopsie. But still good one, Rafa.
That's a good whoopsie.
It
You know
is.
what? A happy accident.
Yeah, it is a happy accident. One thing that right now, 15 minutes, we talked about like the big summary of it all. What is T1's chance here? There is the Infernal Elder Drake still not alive, but that's a window that T1 wants to take. But J-Team is choking the map space right now to make sure that T1 doesn't have any room to work with.
I mean, talking about no room, they can't even get into their own jungle.
Nope, no,
They can't even get into the backyard.
It's
What if
so
they wanted to
sad.
play a game of catch?
Yeah, what if they want to cook barbecue? You know?
Nope, can't do that.
Can't.
The barbecue is off limits. T1 just forced into the croaches of their outer rim of the base. They are only hanging on to one more tower. And during this whole time, toggle the fog of war because there's no way that they have any idea that J-Team is doing it. But if T1 suspect that they do, they can't safely enter.
Yeah, it's going down really fast right now. And look at DY, she's going down, everyone.
It's a desperate attempt from T1, a Hail Mary trying to answer back when they've taken so much damage from the Baron. JY has jumped onto the backline, but he has to got out scot-free. And now J-Team is on the hunt for this Jax. Dawn has hookshot available, looking for Hextech Ultimatum, but it's not on cooldown, so JY, he's not going to go down anytime soon, but he has nowhere else to run. T1 just looking to stall out the inevitable. And with the Elder Dragon still not spawning for a while, it isn't game over yet for T1, but J-Team are on the brink of closing it out.
Yeah, that's a lot of seconds gone for JY. That means J-Team has a lot of room to work with when it comes to sieging and maximizing this buff. We're looking at the 1-3-1 at the moment. How can T1 defend? We talked about their wave clear, and unfortunately against a Corki, it's not going to pan out too well.
Oh my god. Cherry, you're
Cherry
deep
going
behind
in?
enemy lines. He wasn't expecting that the Wukong Nimbus Strike was going to take him all the way back behind the inhibitor towers, but it doesn't seem like it even mattered because Penguin was the one that almost took the final blow.
Yeah, at this point, you get to see Pan as well, split pushing at top side. Every single tower is falling down. Slowly but surely JY about to respawn. We'll see how they can defend this one.
Baron empowered minions striking forward through the mid lane, pounding at the top inhibitor. The inhibitor falls, leaving only one more through the dragon lane. It's going to be enough for J-Team to inflict massive psychic damage, as Grandin would say back at home, to T1.
Yeah, that's massive psychic damage. It's one of those things, how can you mitigate that psychic damage to take you to game number 2? Because this one is such a huge lead from J-Team. It felt like the game was over during that, after that Rift Peril fight rather, once Dawn got a massive amount of kills.
18 and a half minutes into the game, Riku. J-Team.
Yeah.
We knew that it would take a while for J-Team to close out this game, And we know that tendency for T1 to pull out a miracle play when it is at the Elder Dragon point. But I don't think T1 were down more than 10,000 gold when they were playing against Rix 2 days ago.
Yeah, I think that's the difficult part, right? There's 11k gold, an 11k gold deficit rather, and 17 seconds on the clock for the Elder Drake. This is complete control from J Team. They have no vision whatsoever. They can't walk inside and face check these brushes because who are you gonna meet? You gotta meet a monkey. You gotta meet this DY on this Braum that is able to just stun you and Glacial Fissure you in the face.
I don't want to meet the monkey, Riku.
No, you don't wanna. Gonna spin in front of you. Hook shot though from Dawn.
Dawn with the flank has found the Hexa ultimatum onto the back line. T1 are in a world of danger and a world of hurt. J-Team inflicting the last and final blows against T1. The package comes in for second wind. Barry is there with the damage. Following up, Zhong is the last member to stand alongside Penguin, but they get routed off. And once again, it's a prime
Ace! Gaming! Ace!
J-Team striking first, taking game 1 against T1.
That was insane by J-Team. Complete domination from the very beginning. Rift Herald, the complete control. And this time around, they basically choked every single resource away from T1, basically. And it was just so difficult for all of these scaling carries. The Jax, the Senna Nasus that wants to infinitely stack, basically did not give any room for T1.
An awesome display of power from J-Team, and this time around, they don't leave any ground for T1 to stand on while they were building up their defenses, scaling into the late game. You got to imagine that T1, going back to the drawing board, are going into game 2. They're not going to give J-Team the same amount of agency next time.
It makes me wonder what the next strategy, what the next approach is going to be, right? Because there is a world where you stick to your guns, you stick to your WCK signature of getting that scaling on the board, wait for the Elder Drake, and fight there. But the problem is, a lot of the J-Team is just so good at the early game, you got to have something to fight them at equal strength in the early to mid. But the answer was Renekton earlier, but unfortunately it wasn't enough.
And it didn't get leveraged successfully for T1, so they couldn't hold on. But for more on the game, we're going back to Mika and the gang at the desk.
Thanks, you guys. I love the matching outfits, by the way. I love it. I love it. But yes, it's looking like it is going to be a 4-for-4 for the WRL team, Stuart. It's crazy. These teams are just so prepared for this tournament.
I hate to say it, but yeah, I mean, China are just too good. I think they've definitely come here to play now. I think that there was a few teams that took games off Chinese representatives, but they're showing now that China are the #1. They're showing now, you know, the likes of J-Team, the likes of Nova have come here to play, and they're showing their dominance.
China hasn't been beaten by anyone yet.
Not
China
in
has
series.
won every single series.
Yep.
Yeah. That's crazy. And this may be the next one as well. So, like, there was a potential of T1 winning this game. Here we can see that very early moment, because at this stage of the game, you know, J-Team was ahead by only 1k gold. It's funny that I'm saying it like this, because like we're used to Chinese teams being ahead by like thousands and thousands of gold. But then right here, J-Team did have a bit of a slow start, but from here on out, it was just, they ramped up. They ramped up to the late game, and they absolutely destroyed T1.
Yeah, and I think, Stuart, you know, we were talking earlier about how, you know, JT and T1, they still feel like they haven't gotten their bearings just yet here with an Icon. So when we matched up the two, we were like, okay, I think this is clearly going to go over to J-Team.
Yeah, for me, I think that T1, even in their first series against Rix, they didn't look their best. They were just scaling. They were playing passive. They tried to do the same thing here as well. And in that early game, J-Team were kind of doing the same as well. They were just like, okay, we're just going to play a little bit slow. But then they started to come online. As soon as J-Team finds something, they go for it. We saw against Vivo Kid as well. I believe it was a few days ago. We saw how, you know, how strong they are when they can be proactive, when they can get deep vision in the enemy jungle. And that's exactly what they did. And they got the picks that they needed.
And that's why I was so concerned about T1, because even though it's an excellent team, you just can't play like this against these Chinese teams. They're gonna abuse you. They're gonna play to their strengths, or they're gonna play to your weaknesses, I should say, and they're just gonna win the game. Like, you have absolutely no chance if you play this playstyle T1, unless you get some lucky catches in the early game, which gets you ahead. But we saw it, right? Like, even though Chinese teams lose the game, they are somehow, someway, always ahead in golden experience.
Yeah, and I just want to point out, by the way, that J-Team's Barry, he is here actually on a mission. So he was, I believe, the #1 Vayne in his region on the leaderboards, and he is determined actually to take that title globally. So he is not just here, to represent his region, to represent his team. He is here with a personal mission as well.
Wow.
We didn't see the Vayne come out in this series. Possibly in the next one, maybe, but I think that T1, if they've done their homework, they would know that that is this man's mission, and they probably is not going to let him get his favorite champion. But Stuart, going into game number 2, what do you think? How does T1 redraft this? How does T1 read the book that J-Team have?
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, looking at the draft very, very briefly, J-Team got both the Lucian and the Corki in that. We thought there was going to be a trade-off in terms of Corki and Lucian, but instead T1 went for the Senna Nasus, which didn't really work out in the end, because the problem with that is that they don't really have a lot of damage. They have the Jax for that source of damage, but actually the Brom pick came up pretty big as well. The Brom, when you have a Renekton, who was the other one as well? Was it Renekton? Jax, that was the other one. I was trying to think who it was. Renekton, Jax, and the Brom is very, very good at being defensive and stopping kind of that initial engage.
Yeah, and Hells, I'm thinking on the side of we talked about the side of T1, J-Team, I feel like all they have to do is, they just keep going. It feels like, again, these Chinese teams are very, very prepared. J-Team is prepared as well, and I don't think this is even their best picks. They're just warming up.
That's what it feels like indeed. Their draft, however, was amazing because indeed they picked the Braum and they comboed the Lucian with it. Lucian with the 2 attacks. You can get an instant stun out of it. And that gold graph right there showed the story, right? First 5 minutes, nothing happened. And then and there, no more mistakes from J-Team. Just boom, 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 boom. Win, win, win after win. So T1 really has to ramp up their game, right? Like, their draft may be okay. Like, there's really no major problems with their draft. But here you can see it. Like, 1 tower. They've taken 1 tower and that's it. They lost every single dragon. They lost every single... They just lost everything. This cannot happen again.
And the Brom was actually the last pick as well, which is quite an interesting one. When you're against a Jace, when you're against a Jax, and also the Renekton, there's not really much that them champions can do. When you have a Brom sitting in front of you with the shield, and the Brom can just keep auto-attacking all the passes as well. The only long-range champion that they actually had on their team was that Senna, but the Senna's not... It's not like a Kai'Sa, it's not like a Xayah that can really deal damage. It's just a Senna. The Senna's just going to be on the back line, trying to heal as much as possible for them bruisers, but there's not really much them bruisers can do when there's a Brom in front of you, and that's going to be just stunning you. Like you said, with the Lucian, with also the Corki as well from the auto attack. So it was a really, really nice last pick by J-Team.
Hells, I'm really curious. What do you think is missing from T1 right now?
Aggression. Just aggression, doing stuff. Like, come on, stop playing so safe. Go in for the ganks. Go in for the objectives. Go do something. Don't just, go for these late game competitions. Don't just pick Senna Nasus and think, yeah, we're gonna win late game. This is not Europe. This is not NA. This is China that you're fighting against. And I know this is my own region, but China is a whole different level. Like, we've seen every single Chinese team. These guys are like close to perfect. So to beat them, you gotta match that. You can't just sit and wait and have the same playstyle every single game. That doesn't work because they will counter you. They will counter you and they will destroy you.
And that's the big storyline so far here at Icons 2022, because it's like, is there any team that can stand up to the might of these Chinese teams right now? We're seeing teams get very, very close, walking slowly and slowly, but so far still unsuccessful here at day 3.
Yeah, there's little breaks in the iceberg. You can feel it. There's little weaknesses of China that people and teams have been able to, take them. Furious Gaming and RRQ as well. They were able to take games. But in terms of that, I think they're sometimes just trying to put in taking the gas off a little bit, and then what they'll be able to do is they just say, okay, we need to regroup, we need to replan our strategies, and then they come into the 3rd game and they're just like, okay, we're completely fine, we know how to play our game, and we can just take the victory.
So, but you can see the ways that teams win against China. RRQ, you saw that crazy draft? That is how you win. Like, but that's what it takes.
And the aggression as well. And
that's what it takes indeed.
Yeah.
The aggression from Helios right there on that Rakan, this is what it takes.
Yeah, but we can't have too much aggression so far here at Icons 2022. Sometimes we like to take a step back and, as you mentioned, so step off the gas a little bit and relax, as you can see in this clip with what went on behind the scenes.
Oh, no. Oh, my God.
And, yes, it's the massage train.
This is the behind the scenes stuff. This is how we stay fresh all day, right? We got our boy Degon sitting right there. He's got our back, literally.
His massages are great, by the way.
10 out of 10 would recommend.
Oh yeah, no. It's like 15 out of 10, okay? It's a 15 out of 10.
You can DM me. I'm his manager to schedule a session.
I just have to say, I feel so relaxed right now.
My shoulders feel much better.
Yeah.
I feel like I can actually move now.
But we can't relax too much here because we have another game coming right up. Rafa, Riku, what do you think? Are you guys getting massages?
I don't know.
I want one.
I want one. Yo, Degon, hit us up.
Yeah.
I didn't realize Degon is doubling not only as a host and interviewer, but also a licensed massage therapist. I mean, we didn't get this treatment going into the cast.
That's true. Maybe because we came in later. It's probably why.
I quit. I'm getting off the cast.
Bye-bye.
Okay. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
J-Team getting themselves ready on stage. 1 game point away from not only clinching the series against T1, but also joining fellow representatives from the WRL and Nova Esports and JDG in being #1 seeds in their play-ins groups, but also advancing to the group stage.
That's a huge thing, right? Everyone assembled in the group stage, as well as FBX, of course, waiting in the next few weeks. But heading over to the draft, J-Team now reversing. We have them on your blue side, T1 on your red. And again, it seems that there's a lot of respect to Core's Ari, which again enables a lot of these fights for the follow-up that T1 requires.
T1 first adaptation going into this draft phase is taking away Pan's Jace. Or actually, just taking the Jace, as they weren't able to use it to success for themselves. So instead of trying to pick it away from Pan, they're just saying, you know what? We need to do something different. We're going to change up our style, but that doesn't mean that you're going to get this Jace for free.
Exactly. So what does that change? Do they still stick with something that requires a lot of time to scale, requires a lot of resources, where you have to trade objectives, where you have to, not fight at all at the first few objectives?
Is this a Senna ban?
And that has been a struggle. So it could be a Senna ban, but it's a Singe instead, which has been a very interesting pick in the mid lane, just because you get Proto Belt first and then you flip someone.
T1 would put in a very difficult spot.
Yep.
Either ban the Singe or either ban the Senna. But considering how terrifying Singe has been in the hands of the WRL teams, I don't blame them for taking that and choosing the lesser evil in the Senna being given away. But one huge factor for T1 is Camille being picked up here.
I love this pick coming from T1. Do they take a book, or take a page rather? They can take a whole book in the library. But I guess right now, Corki, that has been picked earlier in the draft in game #1 by J-Team. And that book, that lesson was, you need wave clear, a huge amount of wave clear to maneuver around your mid-jungle to top side. And J-Team saying that, okay, hey, my turn, you use the Jax, I'm gonna use it, I'm gonna show you how it's done.
Riku, if J-Team wanted to pull an absolute psychic damage blow to T1, okay, not quite the full-on reverse
Swap.
pick.
Yeah.
But imagine if J-Team had opened up with Senna, Jax, Nasus, and they went into this game, and it doesn't go T1's way, and J-Team closes it out. Not only J-Team get the first game win, but they also take T1's composition and say, yeah, we could beat you with the composition that you just lost with.
And exactly. They're basically spelling it out that we don't need the Nasus. You can ban it in the second rotation of bans. We're going to take the Gragas, and then we can swap it either for Pan or for DY. And remember, DY is such an insane Gragas player. Remember, this guy can 2v2 you in the lane no matter what his partner is. No matter if that's a Ziggs, that's a Senna, it's still going to work.
Important note, though, for T1, they are pivoting towards an earlier, more aggressive game. JY with the Lee Sin. I remember tuning into the WCK during year 0 in 2021 when the Korean scene was still young before we got even close to Horizon Cup. JY had by far one of the best Lee Sins in the entire region. Is going to have to dig deep to pull out a win and find the early snowball to leverage a game comeback for T1.
And it makes me curious what that mid-jungle pair is going to appear this time around, because that Corki can still be towards BDG. And if you want to get that early lead, you can focus towards top side and mid lane as well. We'll see what the decision is going to be, because I feel like T1's going to have a difficult time, considering the fact that, again, J-Team has disengaged. They don't have the Braum this time around, but the Gragas is super good against all ends, and now they have the Rakan as well for that big all-in.
You already saw how well RRQ was able to demonstrate the power of a Rakan. I don't think Core's...
Mid lane!
Yeah, and now... we're not getting too far ahead of ourselves. I don't think Core knows about the sauce, about the AP Recon in the mid lane, or has it well practiced. But in the hands of Penguin, combining a powerful all-in engage with Jong on the Camille, most likely at this point, that is the way that T1 can find victory in this game. But J-Team, you already talked about it before. Powerful disengage from the Gragas and the Senna, and now you're adding a Wukong into the mix.
It's the same iteration of disengage combining with engage. This is a little bit of everything. But the problem that I could potentially see, finally a Yasuo! I'm so happy. You know how frustrated when I see a Wukong and a Gragas and they don't pick Yasuo. Now we get to see a Brad. This is so nice, Rafa. T1's gonna burn everyone down on J-Team side, and it works so well. Because 4 melee champions on the board, that means the Pyroclasm can just easily bounce in and out of people.
Riku, throw out the books. Throw out the whole library because it's burning to the ground. T1 say that we are changing everything in this draft. Screw the late game scaling. We're going all in on this early mid game. And when you get a bunch of short range champions like J-Team has, mostly bruisers, apart from the Senna, that is where a brand thrives best. The Pyroclasm, as you mentioned, as long as the wind wall doesn't catch it and stop it from getting its maximum usage, it is going to deal insane amounts of AoE damage.
I know, J-Team, there's a lot of bruisers, just as you mentioned. Most of these picks are going to be banking on trying to build, what? Health, basically. And what does Brand have? A lot of ... DOTs, baby, and as well as the item path. The item build just works so well against these champions, against J-Team. So I am so excited for this pick, Rafa.
Such a exciting look from the 3rd seed of the WCK. They are on the back foot. They are the one game away from being knocked down into the 2nd place decider matchup, where they would have to face the winner of either Rix or Vivo Keed on the next day. But for J-Team, they're the ones poised. Match point in their reach. It is game 2 between these two.
Oh, there's so many things to be happy about this draft, Rafa. I mean, the fact that we finally get to see a Wukong Gragas in the same team, and then suddenly they pivot something without a wombo combo. And finally, the Yasuo. This is so classic from year 0, from League of Legends. A lot of enablers of that big knock-up for the ult coming from hand. So I'm so excited to see that push through. And the fact that there's also a secondary carry on the board, which is Cherry here on the Jax, that means J-Team doesn't have to funnel all their, all their pressure towards Cherry on the Jax.
40 seconds already into the game. No major moves have been made yet. All eyes are on JY from T1 to really leverage things and to get the snowball rolling. If you don't make any proactive moves on this Lee Sin when you're against something like a Jax, the clock starts ticking.
And that's why JY is on this Lee Sin, to be able to, set the tone this time around. They're the ones who should move proactively in the early games. And as we see now JY making that effort, I feel like when we talk about gankable lanes, we see that Jong's lane is the most gankable just because you have a Hextech ultimatum, you got wave clear from Core. If you have priority in the mid lane, then boom, you get 3-man dive Dawn in the top portion of the map.
And Dawn, no stranger to the Baron lane dive, as he was the one alongside Cherry that inflicted it upon Jong.
Yep.
Dawn hiding under the crevices of his tower. JY is level 3 alongside Jong. A level 3 from Dawn, using the clone to dodge out. However, the turret, oh god! Dawn in the 1v2! Dawn says, you can take away the Camille, but you can't stop me from having the top of my game.
Dawn is insane! What a play! JY Jong wanted to set that up, but unfortunately, you saw how JY wanted to get the turret aggro. Damage was still not enough. Dawn played that so well. Had barrier, had flash, there's another fight.
J-Team now threatening the dive onto the bottom lane tower. 248 HP, but it is salvaged by JY, who comes in, forcing the flash out of DY, taking on the Sonic Wave, but beautiful body slam from DY. Stops the damage from coming through. Now Cherry comes in with the punish, and T1, all their early advancements are being neutralized by J-Team.
That J-Team is such a scary team, my word. The fact fact that they're able to get kills on the Wukong, deny the dive from JY and Jong, and the fact that Cherry even gets a kill. Let's take a look at that top lane dive once more. You get to see Dawn trying to clear the wave as well. JY hanging onto the fringes of aggro, but unfortunately, again, they couldn't deal enough damage. Dawn playing that super well as well. With those things combined, Dawn, my word, he's so good.
I thought I was already done being amazed by this
Yeah.
guy after the Camille game in game 1 of this series. But now he is already thriving. A 1v2 isolated double kill for the Baron lane. That takes away so much tempo from T1's plans, because Cherry was farming during that entire time that JY was investing resources into making that gank work. The fact that it flounders like that is so critical to the success of J-Team.
Exactly. If you look at bottom lane as well, it's only a little bit of turret pieces left for that to still stand, as in 200 HP left. That means J-Team not only outplayed top and jungle, but also is able to get first blood tower, especially if they're able to push this wave.
And now if you are T1, you have one more play in your playbook left as the Lee Sin. It's hitting level 5, you have the Dragon's Rage available. If you can find one play, one kill that is able to get a decent amount of change back into your pockets to stabilize this gold deficit currently, which is now 4,000 from J-Team, you can start bringing this game back so that you can bridge towards this brand Corki late game.
And I think that is the opportunity that T1 has to wait for, right? This team goes!
There it is! JY with the kickback! Penguin with the knock-up that follows up onto Pan! And that is T1 striking back when it is necessary!
Yeah, let's go. That was so sneaky. Pan didn't see that coming. Is this the retaliation?
Dawn flashing forward, gets the two-man knock-up with the Cyclone, falling up for additional knock-up. The explosive cast kicks right back onto JY, but he flashes out. He manages to escape with his life.
Yeah, that is a flashless JY. So that play later on, 13 seconds on the clock for the first spawn in the game. We'll see. J-Team is so primed to fight right now. They're gonna shadow T1. Which objective are you gonna take? We're gonna take that. We're gonna follow you. We're gonna fight you. We're gonna force you into a situation that you're not prepared for.
First Dragon and Rift Herald has spawned at this point in time. Riku, let's take a quick vibe check. At the items completed, JY with the Yumu's Ghostblade, Hullbreaker, 4-4 as well. Divine Thunders for both the Baron lanes respectively.
Now, Cherry's still not having enough gold to finish that Triforce, so we'll have to see if that's going to be completed. If they're able to stall out, there we go. That's completed. They went home, they went back to base, and they're ready. Again, this 200 Divine Thunderer Dawn, and as well as Armor Boots, my word. This is a scary, scary Wukong indeed. Solari Charge Blade already completed as well. That means, they're just basically ready to fight.
T1 trying to start up the Dragon right now, ceding control of the Rift Herald because they know they've already lost meaning for it. But the first brick going the way of J-Team. But that's not going to stop J-Team from looking to contest for the fight. Already Cherry and Dawn jumping right up. But it's the answer back from Penguin. Two-man knockup, but do they have the damage right on back? BBGG has already expended the Pyroclasm and answers back into 2 kills against DY and Cherry. JY going back in, but you cannot stop the Wukong from knocking you back into the stratosphere. Zhong sailing on with the hook shot. Pan flashing forward, looking for a Steel Tempest. Doesn't have the steel, the last breath. Core is able to kite him on back. Dawn is looking for more. The flash from Zhong takes out the Monkey King, and Barry has to retreat.
That is what we were waiting for, right? T1 was waiting for an objective so that they can fight 5v5. What did we talk about, Rafa, during the draft? Everyone on the side of J-Team. Basically melee. What's the Pyroclasm gonna do? Bounce in, off, in, out of champions nearby in melee range, basically. That's exactly what happened. Tons of damage, and the fact that everyone from J-Team is practically squishy. And look at that, guess what? We're seeing HP items on the board already. That means that's gonna work so much in favor of BDG.
And BDG isn't even at full strength on this brand yet. The fact the Pyroclasm is doing that much work off of a Rod of Ages that hasn't scaled to its full 10 stacks yet means that T1 have more in store. J-Team, they're not going to take another chance contesting the Dragon. They are respecting the BDG power of this brand. It ensures a trade of objectives for both teams.
And this works so well in T1's favor, right? Where J-Team wants to initiate. They want to set the Wombo combo. They want to wait.
Another kick, another pick onto DY. T1 overwhelming mid lane and taking out the support for J-Team. Pan is left to defend the tower, but now that opens up an avenue on the bottom side of the map.
The BDG still has Pyroclasm.
JY dashing in, huge
Wow.
knock up onto 2, but JY gets obliterated before he can finish off Pan. He's burning to a crisp, but not enough to go down officially. But John comes in from the bottom side of the map, trades one back.
Crazy, the positioning of both of these top laners, Jong and John, basically trying to come from different angles to find a straggler from both of these teams. At the end of the day, it's an even trade off of that skirmish, but it just still shows how scary, once BDG has Pyroclasm, JT has to steer away.
We are 8 minutes into the game, Riku, and I'm not gonna lie, the way that the first 3 minutes opened up, I was ready to throw in the towel on T1's behalf. J-Team had done such a great job of being able to neutralize any of the attempts that T1 made in the very early parts of the game. But it's their determination, it was their persistence that T1 are able to fight back and now neutralize that gold lead. It used to be 4,000, now only 2,000.
And this is what T1 and the WCK region is amazing at. You lose kills, rather. You die from your team, but at the same time, the way that they equalize the gold, they stabilize the gold and make sure that if J-Team jumps on you, you can fight back.
JY looking for a flank on
There
the
it
left
is.
side, but it's the package from Core that separates the members of J-Team. Dawn looking for the follow-up on the Cyclone. Last breath has already been expended. Dawn forcing Penguin off to the backside.
JY
looking for the flank, picks off Cherry, but can he clean up the stragglers here? J-Team still have strong members in Pan, who's blinking on HP, but he manages to stay alive. J-Team able to squeak out the advantage.
Everyone is playing out of their minds right now. The fact that Pan almost died, did a tornado to make sure to stop Jong from landing that last hit, but I felt like J-Team pulled the trigger because they know that JY wasn't there. In the meantime, this could be another kill.
Oh, DY with body slam flash trying to lock down JY. He's dancing, dipping in and out. Stasis dodging out on the route here, but he's got nowhere to run because he is cornered by a giant dude with a barrel, and of course Senna is there to help ensure that T1 are falling behind ever so slowly.
You gotta love how JT moves around the map, right? They don't take breaks thinking of how they can take a pick, how they can use the side lanes, how they can take advantage of the map state. They saw JY over there, just wanting to push the wave, wanted to shove the wave, clear that, and boom, 2 people were there, apparently, and they're able to eliminate him.
T1 still confident that they can find plays as BDG accumulates more and more gold. He's not getting as much resources, though, as his counterparts in Barry and DY, respectively, as this Senna, not necessarily the ones doing the farming, it's more so DY. So both of these champions getting a lot of gold and stats being built up, whereas BDG struggling to find that gold accumulation.
And I feel like it's gonna be solely reliant, again, on these objective fights, because that's the time you know everybody from J-Team is gonna be there, and you see it coming. If you're in a Dragon Pit or a Rift Herald pit, you know that J-Team is there as a whole entire unit. If you see it coming, you know how to react. But without objectives, you don't know where they're going to be coming from if you don't have vision. You don't know what they're going to do next. And I feel like that's the struggle right now that T1, the window that they need is always these objectives.
And you see T1 looking proactively for a pick onto Pan, but the rotations from J-Team snuff it out before it even gets a chance to happen. T1 forced to retreat here, just in time. Dragon, not up for quite some time here. J-Team just looking to control. BDG getting a huge burst of damage onto Dawn, but he answers back with the Cyclone. Last breath is there. Explosive cast scatters the members of T1. They're all sent asunder. Core and JY looking for the flank onto Barry, and he's been routed off. They might be able to trade one back for one, but the root and Barry with the sustain keeps himself alive. JY tries to sail on through, but he cannot take him out. Barry might burn down it, but it's not even close. Barry stays alive. No one goes down from J-Team.
And this is Cherry busy taking out the Rift Herald. J-Team wasn't even complete at all in that fight, and it was BDG in that brush, waiting for the rest of J-Team to be clumped together to maximize that Pyroclasm. But guess what? J-Team so ready for that. They were able to knock him up, get that last breath set, and then win that fight. Take note again, I repeat, Cherry wasn't there.
And now J-Team are all strong as 5 members here in the Dragon Pit. T1 package is being used by Core to separate the members of the fight, but Penguin and Core are the only ones in this 2-on-3. JY comes in as the second win. Dawn once again stifling JY with the knockup. He doesn't even get a chance to contest for the steal on the Dragon. Cherry manages to go down thanks to Jong. Now Jong, the question is, can he get out of live? I don't think so. The Root locks him down for J-Team to take him out. And once again, Riku, we have a prime
Gaming
ace!
Insane there coming from J-Team. Every single time JY wants to go in with the Sonic Wave, there's a knockup greeting him. There's a tornado from Pan greeting him. There's DY's body slam. Therefore, denying any sort of outplay potential from JY on this Lee Sin. J-Team just reading T1 like a book again.
All of T1's efforts once again being neutralized, and there are so many members to point out here and to celebrate, but in our Coca-Cola pop-up, it has got to be Dawn, who prevents T1 from finding those kills time and time again.
Yeah, the way that this fight has basically split up into 3 key parts. There's Dawn, or rather Cherry, busy fighting off Core. There's a fight in the middle of the Dragon lane. There is DY as well at in the mid lane, being able to eliminate Penguin, and there's another fight.
3-man knockup from Penguin, but the damage is not going to follow up because they're too busy retreating. J-Team are too terrifying to deal with. T1 are running for the hills, and J-Team is sending them there graciously, even faster, to a trip to the fountain. The Rift Herald has been spawned, Riku, and Jong trying to recall in time, but I think this is going to be it. The Rift Herald, we're going to get a dancing Shelly on the Nexus turret. It's going to dance, and it's going to charge. Gets the last bit of damage. Another Prime Gaming ace, and J-Team will join Nova Esports and JDG at the group stage.
My word, everyone from the WRL has assembled in the next stage, which is the group stage, and in true old-fashioned as well. Coming from J-Team, very dominant from the first game to the second. And the second game, in very bombastic fashion, you managed to see the Gragas into the Wukong with the Yasuo, and you love to see it.
And J-Team, props to them for showing us a different flavor of draft, for showing us the first brand of Icons 2022. I love the idea. I love the concept behind it. But it takes a lot more than theory crafting. It takes the execution. It takes the precision to be able to match up against the power of J-Team.
Oh yeah, they're incredibly strong. The way that they control the early game, the way that they're so aggressive, the way that they're so scary when they know that they can take you on. It doesn't matter if they're scaling carries. They're going to use these carries like it's an early game champion, and they're going to do it right.
And props to J-Team as well for even improving after their win against Vivo Key. You would imagine that a dominant series like that would require no improvement or no fixes necessary. You don't need to change what isn't broken from J-Team, but clearly you can tell that a lot of coaching from behind the scenes went into play after their series against Vivo Key. They identified that, hey, our late game decision macro making is lacking a little bit in terms of decisiveness and in proficiency. This is where J-Team were able to flex and demonstrate their ability to close out the game cleanly. But of course, the ones who are going to be closing out the end of this series is Miki and the gang over at the desk.
Thanks, you guys. And yes, it looks like it is a 4-4-4 for all of the Chinese teams. Taking a look at our bracket right now, I mean, we kind of saw it coming, but I mean, to see it actually there in front of our eyes, and you know, to basically cement that victory for the WRL region, this is just basically, you know, China saying, okay, drawing a line in the sand and saying, no, we're still the top region in this country. And hence, we were talking earlier about how, you know, T1, they just couldn't seem to take that aggression that you mentioned in the previous breakdown.
So, I do like how T1 did try to be aggressive themselves as well, but it didn't work because they don't have the mechanics that the Chinese teams have. You guys remember that early game dive, right? Where the Lee Sin completely, pretty much entered it, and 2 of them died. So they tried to dive the Baron laner and they both died. So they tried to do the Chinese playstyle. But unfortunately, we actually, it seems like, we have a replay of it. So here you can see it, right? Like JY tried to go for the kill. But unfortunately, Wukong has a clone. You can see Don, he used his clone right there. And then Lee Sin went back on the clone. How tragic is that? And then it cost them 2 deaths even. So, they did try. They did try to make the early game plays, but it didn't work out.
I think that really shows the power of Wukong now, really. We're seeing Wukong come up more and more. Obviously, he did get a buff in the recent patch as well. I believe it was the third ability that did get buffed. His ultimate got a little bit changed as well.
First
so you get
ability
a
got
little
buffed
bit.
too.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of things that got changed with Wukong. I think, it now in the Baron lane with, the Divine Sunderer, the Black Cleaver as well, with all the healing that you can get. It's really, really strong how this champion, and especially, I think with T1, you should know that a Wukong is so difficult to die with the clone as well. And especially because Lee Sin missed the Q and hit the clone instead. But I don't think he realized he realized that he actually hit the clone, and instead he just went in and he killed the clone. It was like, wait, Wukong's not dead. Like, what is going on?
I do like the point that you made over there, Hells, because it's like, it is like they were trying to find that aggression, but it seems as though T1, they still can't seem to find the playstyle that works for them. Suddenly, when they're on the world stage, they're a little disoriented because they can't seem to bring that playstyle that really defines them onto the stage, especially not when you're up against the strongest region currently here at Icons 2022.
Oh yeah, you gotta be able to adapt. And unfortunately, it seems like T1 is not really adapting. Maybe we should say they gotta stick to their strengths, but they're not gonna beat the top teams like that. They may reach the group stage because they're gonna be up against either Keed or Rix. Like, sure, they can beat a team like that with their strengths, but after that, like, they gotta come up with some new things.
I'm actually quite excited now to see, Rix versus Vivo Keed, which I believe will be happening tomorrow, and then the winner of that will be against T1, because if we get that rematch between Rix and T1, I think the first series was really, really close between the two, but saying that, Vivo Keed look really good themselves as well, so I think this group is probably the closest out of all of them.
Yeah, I think like with this group, we can't really tell just yet. I mean, there are other groups where we're like, okay, I don't think I'm too worried about this too much, but this one is going to be interesting to see how it plays out, especially with the diversity in all of the groups. But yeah, I mean, for J Team, again, another clean, very, very easy victory. And I mean, there wasn't anything too special, and I mean that as a compliment, because this was just J Team just basically doing what they do. This wasn't, they didn't have to pull out flashy plays. They didn't have to do crazy drafts or anything.
Same story, just same story. What do we say? Like, it's sounding a little boring right here, but just another day in the office. These are the Chinese teams. Now the question is the same gonna happen in the group stage? Because what we saw right here, these are not the top 1 teams. These are, the second seeds, the third seeds, the fourth seeds. I really wonder what happens when you see the first seeds of each region, because obviously these are like the top teams. These are the #1 teams. So maybe a region, maybe Team Flash, maybe a region has a team that could beat out these Chinese teams consistently, perhaps.
There's also might be a situation where we might just get a full Chinese semi-final as well. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
Don't say that. Don't even say that.
I honestly
Don't
won't
say
be
that.
surprised. I honestly won't be surprised if we see an all-Chinese semi-final. Obviously, it's not like the best scenario. You want to see China against Korea. You want to see China against other regions. But honestly, I just think China in general, I think they've come here to play now. I think, there's been a little bit of hiccups here and there, but they're just showing after every single game, every single one of their seeds, the second, third, and fourth seeds. And we haven't even seen FPX yet as well.
Yeah.
These teams look really, really strong, and FPX we still got to see in the group stage as well.
I find it crazy that there is a team better than these teams. Like,
That's
the fact that there is that one team that's also the #1 seed of China. Because I'm talking about the #1 seeds of each region, but you gotta think that China also still has a #1 seed. These are the 3 bottom seeds. So it's just crazy to me to see what's gonna happen after this play-ins. But we still have another game coming.
That's right. This isn't even their final form yet for the Chinese teams. And I was like looking at you, I was shooting dagger looks at you because it's like, okay, all Chinese team semifinals. Wait, hold on. We still have our final series, and I think this team could have a good chance on making it over there. We have one last match today: Buriram United Esports versus Liberty. It is coming right up after this short break.